Next to some breaking news out of Washington from the U.S. President, Donald Trump floated the idea of a, quote, friendly takeover of Cuba today. The island nation is suffering under a U.S. fuel blockade that began last month. The CBC's Katie Nicholson joins us live from Washington. So, Katie, what exactly did Trump say?
Yeah, so this is building on that speculation that after Venezuela, could Cuba be next? It's roughly like 2 months after the U.S. military swooped into Venezuela and captured President Maduro and the First Lady to stand trial in New York. So what we heard today from the U.S. president, he floated the idea of, quote, a friendly takeover of Cuba. Here's a little bit of what the U.S. president said.
The Cuban government is talking with us, and they're in a big deal of trouble, as you know. They have no money, they have no anything right now, but they're talking with us, and maybe we'll have a friendly takeover of Cuba. It's doing very badly, they're failing. Cuba right now is, to put it mildly, a failing nation, and I've been hearing about Cuba. I said before, since I'm a little boy, I've been hearing about Cuba, and everybody wanted to change, and I can see that happening. Marco Rubio is dealing on it, and at a very high level. And, you know, they have no money, they have no oil, they have no food. And it's really right now a nation in deep trouble, and they want our help.
Of course, one of the reasons that Cuba is doing so poorly right now, its vulnerability after changes in Venezuela. They had strong national ties, and Cuba basically dependent for years on Venezuelan oil. That stopped after January 3rd. And just remember, Cuba's last shipment of oil, that was on January 9th from Mexico, the island that's got roughly 8 million people confronting this accelerating fuel shortage and humanitarian crisis. Aid is coming in, but it's stuck in the ports because there's no fuel to move it around. And Trump has threatened other nations with tariffs if they provided fuel previously, though that is loosening up a little bit right now. But that chokehold has really been intense over the last 2 months.
And Katie, Trump referenced U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in his remarks. What has Rubio said about Cuba?
Well, you know, yeah, there's been a lot of reporting that Marco Rubio has been in talks with the grandson of Cuba's aging leader, Raul Castro, throughout the sort of mounting pressure campaign. Rubio has really said little about this reporting. He was asked about it 2 days ago. But in a Senate hearing in January, he sort of laid the rhetorical groundwork for regime change if Cuba doesn't free political prisoners or allow for a free press or doesn't hold elections. And just 2 days ago, Rubio again refused to talk about the conversations that he's allegedly having, but he reiterated to reporters that he thinks Cuba needs to change dramatically. He pointed to mass migrations, and he said that the system's in collapse and they need to make dramatic reforms. Of course, Rubio has long had an interest in changing Cuba. He's the son of Cuban exiles. This has been something he's been vocal about his entire political career, and he has been continuously voicing demands on democratic freedom and free markets. The timing of this is, of course, interesting because we see so much military buildup in the Middle East, and here we are talking about Cuba. One of the differences here, Andrew, between any potential change between Cuba and Venezuela, in Cuba, you have a single party, sort of a Stalinist sort of regime with basically opposition being banned. So not clear if there is some sort of regime change, what might happen. It's not like in Venezuela where you had Delcy Rodriguez ready to step in and where there is an actual opposition party and vocal opposition.
Katie, thank you. The CBC's Katie Nicholson live in Washington.